We'll get to Game 6 in a moment. Believe me, we'll get to it. But first, I need to talk about my history with the St. Louis Blues. The 2018-19 season was one of the craziest NHL seasons on record. Roster shakeups all around the league. We got Carlson going to the Sharks, Hamilton to the Canes, Skinner to the Sabres, and Ryan O'Reilly going to the St. Louis Blues. Hi, my name is Mason, and I have been watching the Blues literally since I can remember. I have watched in disbelief as talented rosters under Larry Plow and Doug Armstrong have came up short. Time and time again, I found myself wondering, will this team ever do the thing? I watched the Blues make their splash in free agency, signing Bozak, Perron, O'Reilly Johnson, and hometown boy Patrick Maroon. From last place in the league come New Year's, they found their game and surged into the playoffs. And in 2018-19, the St. Louis Blues made history and won the Stanley Cup. Now, I live in Utah, so I didn't get the chance to experience the excitement shown by Blues fans that summer firsthand. But watching it through my phone, it felt like I was there, you know? This fan base needed that win. I, for my mental sake, needed that win. I only wanted one during my lifetime, and I got it. And then, just when we all thought that nothing could top the absolute circus that was the 18-19 season, 1920 said, "Here, hold my Gatorade," because I know a lot of Blues fans, myself included, were expecting the worst. I thought that the Stanley Cup hangover would be so bad that it would be reminiscent of the first half of last year. Maybe sitting around 3rd or 4th in division at New Year's, and then at the All-Star break they were sort of finding their game, but not really, and they'll bow out of the playoffs in the second round. Then the season starts, and the Blues come flying out of the gate, posting 27 of 36 possible points and casually going on a 7-game win streak, literally before mid-November. At the All-Star break, the Blues had an 8-point cushion on the next best team in the entire Western Conference. These guys were killing it. At Game 71, the Blues had a 42-19-10 record, good for 94 points and the second best record in the NHL behind the Boston Bruins. And they did it all without their star player in Vladimir Tarasenko, who was injured literally 10 games in. This Blues team was on pace for a 109-point season. Not bad. And then the NHL paused their season. The right thing to do. And hockey fans all throughout the world were left wondering, what now? And me and all the Blues fans were just heartbroken because this team was going off of a perfect combination of confidence, momentum, and talent. These guys were unstoppable. And then a couple months later, the NHL goes, good news, the season is back, and we're going to take all these precautions, and there will only be 2 arenas and no fans, and oh yeah, 7 of you can make like a tree and leave. And there will be a best-of-5 qualifier round, and the top 4 teams of every conference is going to do a round-robin tournament, and we're going to reseed after every round. Is anybody else confused yet? And we got Blues Twitter going nuts and putting Back to Back by Drake in their Spotify playlist and getting all hyped because Tank is back, baby! And as the puck drops against the Blackhawks in their pre-tournament warm-up game, where the hell are the St. Louis Blues? They get pounded by the Chicago Blackhawks like it's 2014 again, and they fall 4-0. Oh, nothing to worry about. Sure, Tank looked like a cripple out there, but he's just trying to get comfortable with his shoulder again. After all, he hasn't seen NHL ice in 9 months. Then comes the official first game of the round-robin tournament against the Colorado Avalanche, who were also white-hot before the pause. And in the first 20 minutes, the Blues were outshot 16-4. The Blues did have a 1-0 lead because David Perron is actually a god, but they were severely outplayed pretty much the entire game. Binnington stood on his head on this one, but Av scored twice in the third, including Nazem Kadri's goal with literally a 1/10 of a second left. And the Blues fall 2-1. Next up, Blues and Golden Knights. Once again, Blues outshot 13-5, and once again, David Perron scores to give them a 1-0 lead heading into the second period. Parayko makes it 2-0 early in the period, and then Knights score 3 straight to lead 3-2. Blues answer back with 2 more to make it 4-3 after 2, but then again, Blues then proceed to disappear in the third, only managing 4 shots in the final frame. Knights score 3 straight and close the game out 6-4. And me, like most Blues fans, tweeted out, Panic time? The last game of the round robin is against the Dallas Stars, who hadn't won a game since February 25th and headed into the pause were on a 6-game losing streak. Once again, the Blues were up 1-0 after the first, only this time they outshot the Stars 9-7. So there's something. No goals in the second period, which means that for the third straight game, the Blues had a lead going into the third period. What happens next? With 30 seconds to go, Joe Pavelski scores for the Stars. Boy, that's a weird sentence to say. And Dallas ties the game at 1. Nothing happens in OT, so they go to a shootout, and Wayne Gretzky, delete, Denis Gurianov scores in the third round, and the Blues go 0-2-1 in the round-robin tournament, and score a date with Jacob Markstrom and the Vancouver Canucks in round 1. And at this point, I'm making excuses in my head like, oh, these games don't matter. The real playoffs will start and they'll be ready. Tarasenko will finally get back to form. It'll all be fine. Game 1 against the Canucks start and things are not fine. And before the game, I was already frustrated because why the hell is Troy Brouwer out there? Blues played decent enough after 40 minutes. Perron and Schwartz scored to make it 2-2 going into the third. The defense proceeds to evaporate in thin air. Are you seeing a theme here? And the Canucks score 3 goals on 5 shots against Binnington, and the Blues fall 5-2. At this point, the Blues have been outscored 9-0 in third periods during this tournament. Game 2 starts and I'm frustrated because why the hell is Troy Brouwer out there again? For a guy allegedly inserted into the lineup for his physical play, he combined for 3 hits total between games 1 and 2. Blues go to the power play 7 minutes in and then Bo Horvat scores the single most beautiful shorthanded goal I've ever seen in my entire life. And the Canucks are up 1-0 after 20. In the second, Pearson scores to make it 2-0 and O'Reilly answers back and it's 2-1 Canucks after 40. Perron takes an interference penalty 4 minutes into the third, and Pettersson scores on the ensuing power play. And that's it. It's 3-1. I'm in a grumpy mood. This team is not getting better. This team will never find their game in this tournament, and the Canucks are going to sweep them! Now, as this game was happening, I was visiting my family in Seattle, and my brother is a massive Canucks fan, and watching his shit-eating grin after they made it 3-1 is a memory burned in here forever. And just when I gave up hope, Sammy Blake comes in and scores the Blues' first third period goal of the entire tournament and are within 1 with 10 minutes to go. And I just growled at my TV because I knew they weren't gonna win. I even told my brother that I would still be mad if the Blues tied it with 10 seconds to go. And then as Jaden Schwartz tied it with 10 seconds to go, I flipped out because the last 2 minutes were the best hockey I had seen from the Blues that whole tournament. And it gave me hope. And I was confident heading into overtime. And 3 minutes in, David Perron has an open chance, and somehow this right here isn't a goal. That's something you see in a video game, not real life. Are you joking? Later on in the sequence, Quinn Hughes with a breakout pass to Bo Horvat, and I knew as soon as he touched that puck that the game was over. A complete defensive breakdown, and the Canucks win 4-3 in overtime and take a 2-0 lead in the series. The worst overall game by the Blues, in my opinion, of the entire tournament. Have any of your parents ever said, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed? That was me after this game! Tarasenko has looked like a liability more than anything, and we find out why after Game 3, when we get news that he is returning to St. Louis to get his shoulder reevaluated. Massive lineup changes in Game 3. They finally take Troy Brouwer out and put the Blues' fastest skater in Jordan Kyrou on the ice, which they should have done to begin with. Schenn and Schwartz are broken up and switch for O'Reilly and Bozak. Allen is in instead of Binnington. And what happens next? Back-to-back overtime games. That's what happens. The Blues' best game, by far, of the entire tournament. And it's 2-2 after regulation. The Blues then proceed to dominate the overtime period, and Brayden Schenn scores on a breakaway, and the Blues have their first win of the tournament. They nearly put up 50 shots in this game. If the Blues play like that the rest of the season, I am confident that they win. Justin Falk with his best game as a Blue, which is good because he sucked nearly the entire season. Game 4 happens literally 24 hours later, and the Blues pick up right where they left off. O'Reilly scores late in the first to make it 1-0, and they carry that into intermission. 40 seconds into the second period, JT Miller scores to make it 1-1, and then O'Reilly scores again to make it 2-1. Pietrangelo scores with 5 minutes to go in the second to make it 3-1. Blues defense stops the Canucks dead in their tracks in the third period on another fantastic performance from Justin Falk, and the Blues have tied the series at 2. No forward lineup changes for Game 5. For the defense, Carl Gunnarsson is out, Robert Bortuzzo is in. Now, I am actually excited for this game. The Blues have momentum, they looked fantastic in the last 2 games, and I am confident that they play well in this game. Game starts and Allen plays the puck in the trapezoid, literally 10 seconds to give the Canucks a power play. They kill it, thank God, but Tanev trips O'Reilly, and the Blues go to the power play, and then Tyler Mott dances in and scores a shorthanded goal. That is the second shorthanded goal the Canucks have scored in this series, and the Canucks are up 1-0. Shen and O'Reilly score to make it 2-1 after 1, and despite the shorty, I still feel great about this game. Second period starts, and the Blues are dominating. The Canucks can't get a dang thing past the defense, and then Brandon Sutter takes a high sticking penalty, and the Blues go to the power play. Just a minute later, Sanford dances in and scores, and it is 3-1 Blues, and I am pumped! Blues have been dominating play. Markstrom has been standing on his head and has made about 3 insane saves that should be goals. Honestly, it should have been 6-1 Blues halfway through the game. Later in the period, Jacob De La Rose, who has been invisible this entire series, has an open net, and somehow this isn't a goal. If that puck goes in the net right there, Blues win Game 5. No question about it. Canucks go on the attack. Miller, Virtanen, and Mott again score within a span of 6.5 minutes, and a 3-1 lead turns into a 4-3 deficit headed into the third. Just like that. Blues just stopped playing hockey in the third period, and they fall in Game 5, 4-3. Now the Blues are on the brink of elimination. And I was livid, because they made it 3-1 and then decided, well, pack it up, we're done here for today. The Blues team that I saw in the first half of that game was the best hockey I've ever seen out of these guys in a long time. The second half was the worst, and now they need to win 2 straight to keep their season alive. Before Game 6, Berube with yet another goaltending change. He puts Binnington back in net, and I'll get to why I think he does this in a minute. Then, literally 30 minutes before puck drop, we find out that Tyler Bozak is out with a lower body injury, and Mackenzie McEachern has taken his place. 4 minutes into Game 6, De La Rose turns it over, and Beagle beats Binnington, and it's a 1-0 deficit early. The Canucks are dominating. Not even 10 minutes into the period, and the shots were 14-4. There was zero urgency from the Blues in the entire first 10 minutes. The Blues end up sort of tightening up on defense, and the puck mostly stays in the neutral zone for the second half of the period, and the Blues actually held the Canucks to like no shots in like a 14-minute span or something, and we head to first intermission down 1-0. 2 minutes into the second, and a complete defensive breakdown between Dunn and Bortuzzo right in front of Binnington, and Roussel isn't missing from there. It's 2-0 Canucks. Not 4 minutes later, and the Canucks enter the zone, and the Blues players kind of just stand around and watch them play hot potato with the puck for 2 minutes, and Troy Stetcher makes it 3-0. And if you thought that was bad, Oscar Sundqvist takes a penalty, and Brock Besser's left all alone in Ovi's office and beats Binnington block aside on the slowest slap shot I've ever seen in my life. Binnington gets chased from the net. It's 4-0 Canucks 8 minutes into the period. At this point, I am convinced that anybody could beat Jordan Binnington, including, I don't know, Justin Bieber! 7 minutes in, Schwartz makes it 4-1, but both teams know that this game is over. And sure enough, with 7 minutes to go, an ugly neutral zone turnover, and Jay Beagle finds Tyler Mott. Allen had no chance on that, and it's 5-1. Schwartz scores his second of the game with under 2 minutes to go, and Tyler Mott gets an empty netter literally 10 seconds later to make it 6-2. And the Vancouver Canucks beat the St. Louis Blues in 6 games in their first round series. And you're probably saying, well, if you expected the Blues to not do well in the playoffs, why are you so mad right now? Because they gave me hope! The downfall came down to 3 things. They waited too long to find their game, their atrocious special teams. Atrocious! And some very questionable lineup decisions by Craig Berube. We didn't even see the Blues' top prospect in Klim Kostin the entire series, and when the defense looked terrible, he could have put in Nico Mikkola, who has proven in every single game that he's been in this year that he is a top 4 defenseman. Hell, we didn't even see Jordan Kyrou, arguably the fastest player on the roster, until Game 3. I think what makes this loss hurt so bad is because more or less this core is getting dismantled in the offseason. We simply don't have the space for everybody anymore. And I have never loved a roster makeup as much as I loved last year's and this year's. Out of Petro, Bozak, Schwartz, Allen, maybe even Binnington, one or more of them will not be back next year, guys. And I hate to be a pessimist, and I know that this is a sensitive subject for you Blues fans, but I think we just saw Alex Pietrangelo's last game in a Blues jersey. What a crappy way to go out, guys. A team that you have poured your heart out for and won the Stanley Cup with loses in the first round to the Canucks in your contract year? Are you joking? If there are any Canucks fans watching this video, I just want to let you know that you guys beat a fantastic team. You guys absolutely deserve this win, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I wish you nothing but luck for the rest of the playoffs. You guys played with hunger and drive, and those are the two most important things when you're trying to make a run in the playoffs. So you guys should feel pretty good about yourselves. I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter recently saying #FireBerube, and I'm not 100% on board with that idea, simply because I don't think this was 100% his fault. I mean, yeah, obviously a little bit of misplaying of his prospects and a little bit of the lineup changes just were very questionable in general, but I don't think it's worth a firing over, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of questions about whether they should trade Allen or Binnington. I personally think they should trade Binnington. All that people think about Jordan Binnington is his incredible run last year. We know he's never going to replicate that. That's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. That's never going to happen. I say trade him now while his value is still high, and who knows, maybe we free up space for another player, or even maybe re-signing Petro. Who knows? However, I don't know if you guys saw, but after the game, David Perron gave Alex Pietrangelo a hug as they were leaving the ice. So I think that's a pretty clear indicator of what's going to happen this offseason. So, question time. Why am I crying this hard over this stupid team? Because you care. At the end of the day, you care. That's why I've been yelling. That's why I've been ranting. Because I care. It's not, are you kidding me? If I didn't care, I wouldn't have bothered making this video. I love this team. You love this team. That's why you're emotional over them, and that is a good thing. Why start Binner over Allen? I don't think Berube makes this decision based on performance. I think he does this as a challenge to the defense to stay on their toes the whole game and never let up, and they failed. You like Putin? Putin is fantastic, but I guess it's a tainted memory now because the best Putin I ever had was in Vancouver! Backus demanded too much. How much does Petro want, and does he want to stay in St. Louis? I 100% think Petro wants to stay in St. Louis. There's a lot of sentimental attachment here. It's where his kids were born, it's where his home is. Hell, it's where he captained his team to a Stanley Cup! I think that if Armstrong offers him $8.5 million, he sticks around because he knows that he can get $9 million minimum somewhere else. This one isn't a question, I just felt like including it. I've been ranting for long enough. I think it's time to call these quits, but I do appreciate you watching this video. Maybe I'll do more of these, I don't know. I just felt like getting a few things off my chest about this season, but I'm a Blues fan. I will always be a Blues fan. As much as they might break my heart in the future, I'm going to be a Blues fan, and I know you will too. So, thank you for watching, and I might see you in the offseason. Who knows?